And then people that are neurotic tend to be a bit more nostalgic for times when they felt more comfortable or safe.
Rob, I've missed you. How are you?
Swell, what up with you?
Just maxing and relaxing. You know,
Watching a lot of Fresh Prince reruns.
I do feel like that was the height of entertainment. Fresh Prince and Saved by the Bell.
For sure, like 1992, most definitely.
Do you know I used to come home from school? I think every day in my childhood, I would come home from school and I would have a Hot Pocket, and then I would watch at least one episode of Saved by the Bell and and have a Hot Pocket.
Hot Pocket. I mean, that does sound like you forgot that you put on a slap bracelet and were wearing Adidas shoes and had an Umbro coat with little things on it. But other than that, that was the most 90s thing you've ever said to me.
I had all the things you mentioned. I had.
Right. I mean,
Do you know? Can I just tell you something gross that just made me think of? Is my Hot Pocket habit. Well, I always had to have a Hot Pocket, and for some reason I got it in my head that I should be eating it separately. So I would drill a hole in it with my tongue, and then squeeze all of the filling of the Hot Pocket out every day.
so gross.
I know. I don't know why I would do that. My parents were like, "What is wrong with you?"
That's a great question.
Yeah, but
That's
anyway,
the right question.
that was the routine, and then watch Saved by the Bell, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Right. Are Hot Pockets still around?
I don't know, but I feel like they've been eclipsed by Uncrustables.
Oh, well, my kids eat the crap out of Uncrustables.
Now, you wanna change your life right now with an Uncrustable?
What?
This is unrelated, I know. But if you freeze an Uncrustable and then toast it before you eat it,
Why
that is
freeze it?
'cause it keeps the middle cold, and then you got a hot outside.
Oh,
It's quite the experience to eat it.
okay. All right. I've only eaten them cold, like they're in the fridge.
Oh, a big
Yeah.
mistake.
All
Rookie
right.
move. Mhm.
Well, this is actually a great segue to what I wanted to talk about, although it sounds like it couldn't possibly be.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. Turn this into psychology.
I started watching, all these shows over the past, I feel like 10 years. They're updating, right? So I think, like Mad About You there was an update of that. Frasier, Will and Grace, a lot of these shows from the 90s and 2000s are getting updated. Usually I want to like them. So a lot of these shows that I used to watch,
Mhm.
and those
Mhm.
three are good examples. I will try to watch the updates, and it's almost impossible for me to like them. I don't like any of them.
Do you like it if you go back and watch a early episode of King of the Hill?
Yes. So like, and that's where this is coming from, is like King of the Hill. That is an update,
Yeah.
and I've actually started watching it and I like it.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
different. So I've started it. And it's come out recently, only in the past couple of weeks has King of the Hill come up, and I'm like, ugh. I begrudgingly turned on Hulu. This is maybe 2 weekends ago. I was the only one up, so I'm like, all right, I'll turn this on and just see. And I liked it. I'm maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, and it's keeping me. And I think I like it because it's a good mix of keeping the old characters,
Mhm.
but especially for what that show was trying to. Did you ever watch King of the
I
Hill?
never watched it.
I thought it was great. It's the creator is Mike Judge, who did like Beavis and Butthead and then like Silicon Valley. So he did a lot of these, like a lot of his shows are about very kind of specific cultures, either across the country or corporate cultures in the United States.
Okay. Okay, like Silicon Valley was the tech culture,
Yeah.
and
Beavis and Butthead, like, I guess stupid teenagers, like, in the 90s who like to like bang their heads with metal
mhm,
music or something like that.
mhm. And King of the Hill is just like is white trash? Is that the culture or
I wouldn't go that far. They're in Texas, and so they're just very old school traditional Texan.
okay.
So the traditional, like a traditional family, and then the neighbors are traditional, and they poke fun at some of just like the more traditional conservative, you know, tropes there. But I wouldn't say that they also understand, and I think are, they're not just making fun. There's a good deal of understanding there, and so that's part of why I liked it as well. Is it's funny to make fun. It's an easy target sometimes,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
can get old pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And I think it back when it was originally airing, and even now, it's good balance there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but watching this show got me thinking more about nostalgia because it's certainly something, uh, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. I'll call it a feeling, but not everyone would agree that it's a feeling. But it's this feeling that I will oftentimes have when watching shows like these. And that's probably what pulls me in the first time is I'd like to watch Frasier like I did in 1998
Mhm.
and to have
Mhm.
that same experience, but I'm not going to with the ones that are coming out this year. It's not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't hit that same mark for me. So I thought we would talk today, Dave, about nostalgia, what it is, examples of things we're nostalgic about.
Mhm.
And I also think nostalgia is really pertinent because, or within our current political environment, specifically, make America great again. I think you can make an easy argument that that is a call to be nostalgic.
Oh, I would not have got there if you didn't say that, but yes. Yeah. Yeah, back to the good times.
Right. So I'm
Yeah.
going to talk about all
Yep,
of these
okay.
things here with you today. So I've just rattled off a couple of things that I'm nostalgic about. What about you? What are you nostalgic about?
It's funny when you were talking about it, I was thinking, okay, like what are the things that I miss or that I think about or that I have like good memories about? And like the things that flashed in my mind were like I used to have. Did you ever have a Discman?
Oh yeah.
Like that, I remember getting that and thinking that that was just about the coolest thing ever. Like
I
I'm the
remember running when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old and I would go running at night around my neighborhood and
yeah.
I would run carrying this Discman, but it
Yeah.
had skip proof technology.
Yes, I remember
So I could run like this and
yeah,
it wouldn't skip, which
yeah,
was mind
a
blowing.
huge deal. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So like and I have kept from when I was, I think 10, all my old baseball cards. And like they
Holy
just like
shit.
a couple months ago, I was showing them to Enzo. By the way, they're all I don't know what they're worth or and it's like, what do you do with it? Like I found the box and I go, oh my God, uh, there's gonna be a Babe Ruth card in here and I'm gonna be loaded, you know. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth anything or what you do with it, or even if there was a Babe Ruth card in there, do you sell it or you just pass on to your kids who are going to pass on to their I don't know what the goal is, but
Right.
I had a lot of like I remember sitting down when I was in whatever, like second grade and trading cards
Yep.
with my friends. And so there's things that I did that in the moment seemed um sort of like just part of daily life that I look
Yep.
back and go, oh, I missed that, or that was, I wish I could be there. Well, so here's the question, and maybe you're going to get to this, but I don't know if it's because I was happier at that phase of my life. Or in like, is that what I'm missing? Or like, what am I nostalgic about? Is it that I was happier at that phase of life? Is it because, or is it that uh, I survived it and things worked out? So like, just to give you an example. My dad owned a tree trimming company,
Okay.
and he would want I when I was a kid, like sixth, seventh grade, in the summers, I would work at the tree trimming company. And he would pay me $20 a day, and I would go to the yard. I remember this like so clearly, and I remember him sitting me down next to a wood splitter. It's like this big 7-foot machine, and you have a handle, and you just go and you move it down, and this big heavy triangle comes down and will split wood.
Okay.
And he would sit me there, and he would sit me there with two people that did not speak English, that were his workers, and he would leave, and it would be the 3 of us splitting wood all day long. They're talking to each other in Spanish. I speak 0 Spanish, and he would just leave me there, and then he would pay me $20 at the end of the day. It was freaking miserable. But I am in retrospect, and I thought, you know what, every summer I'd be like, I'm never doing this again, and then, the next summer I'm hauling brush or whatever, but I was like, I can go to McDonald's and make 19 bucks an hour or 14 bucks an hour, whatever it was. Maybe it was 9
I
bucks
think I
an hour.
think I think it was I think it was like
Yeah.
$7 an hour, but
Well,
okay.
I'll tell you what, for 8 hours, you're not getting 20
Right,
bucks. I
right,
mean,
right.
it was definitely, I felt like I was being mistreated. But now I'm so nostalgic. I would love to my younger brother now owns that tree trimming company, and I'm like, "I'm sending my kids to California, and I want you to go suffer, and I would like you to, Nick, my brother, or Enzo, my brother, make them as miserable as possible." Like, I want that experience for them, despite the fact that I was not happy doing it.
So why? So that's a good question. What makes you nostalgic about that? Like, what makes you look back on that fondly, given how you described it?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm proud that I did it. I think and I also think, like, things worked out.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was helpful. It must have helped. I think it was probably good for my work ethic. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to. When you were talking about it, I was like, oh, if I think about all the fun things, but I'm not nostalgic about whatever the desserts that I ate when I was a teenager. But I am nostalgic about like the time that a kid wanted to beat me up in high school and like how all my friends reacted to that. I like have memories that I sort of missed. I think fondly about those experiences.
About someone to kick your ass?
It,
That's
he didn't, but
okay.
that was the I, I do you remember I'm nostalgic about these. Did you ever have the tearaway pants?
No, the
Your
buttons?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, those were sick. Well, my, ex-girlfriend had the tearaway pants. You're supposed to wear shorts underneath them,
correct.
and I thought it was really funny to grab her pants and I would rip them off of her. We were still very good friends, but I would ri I so I walked in one day and I saw Aaron's pants and I ripped them off and thought, "This is gonna be big fun." She was not wearing shorts. She was just wearing, like, underwear. She
Uh-oh.
was like, "Oh my god." So then she buttons her pants. It wasn't like that was it, uneventful. But there was some new kid at the school that didn't know me and I think probably liked Aaron, and he's like, "Hey, bud, you don't treat women that way, and now we're gonna fight." And I was like, "Hey, man,
Oh.
I'd rather not fight you." And he's like, "Oh, that doesn't matter. We're fighting." And I go, "I'm s Go talk to Aaron. I think we're fine. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know she wasn't wearing, shorts." And he goes, "No, no, no. We're fighting at lunch." And I was like, "I'm not interested." And all of my friends, like, you would think like, "Oh, they're gonna back you up." My friends were like, "I don't know." I think his name is I'm not David, Kevin, what's his name? No one supported me. They were all like, "Holy shit, Dave's getting his ass beat," and no one defended me. So I'm walking around like first period, second period, like getting ready to just get beat up. And I remember walking by him in like we're passing in the center of the school, and he punched a pillar. This was a kid I think had probably a rough background, and he was like, I don't know how he was in the school, but I don't know, I didn't know him at all. And he punched the pillar into the pillar. I remember thinking like, oh my god, he's gonna beat me up like he just beat up that pillar, and the pillar was he punched it. It was like, gang, 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 gang. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. And he's like, "Get ready for that." And I was just thinking, "Oh my god, all day I'm gonna get beat up at lunch." And then at lunchtime, he comes over and he like stands next to me and he goes, "So I've decided I'm not gonna beat your ass." and so I, and so I was like, "Oh, thank you." And all my friends were like, "Huh, yeah, yeah." This no one gave a shit about the fact that I was terrified of getting beaten up. So anyway, I that story, like I like that story. I have nostalgia for the story, but that was not a comfortable experience.
Right. Well, I guess that's an interesting question. Can people be nostalgic for difficult situations just as they can be for positive? So, to answer that question, because I don't know the answer, I'm going to read just a definition of nostalgia that I found. Because I think part of that will answer your question. It's a sentimental longing for one's past, often for a time or place associated with a personal meaning. So, before reading that, I would have assumed that nostalgia had a positive, it was in a positive association for someone. But what that definition says is it just associated with a personal meaning.
Mhm, mhm.
So while I could say, wow, Dave, that's Like, what the hell is wrong with you that that is something you remember nostalgically or fondly? Maybe fondly is the wrong word. You just remember it because it was a personal thing for you. Maybe you were emotionally heightened in that situation and you just recall that a lot more quickly.
Well, and it means it, both of the things that I just mentioned there that weren't positive, I have assigned meaning to. Like the me splitting wood, I have when I sort of tell my own personal narrative, I think, well, that helped you have
Yeah.
a stronger work ethic, or you know what I mean? Like I value it because of that. So there's a
Yep.
personal meaning there. And you know, I've never got in any actual fight. So that moment where this guy was threatening me was the closest that I've ever gotten to conflict. And so for me, it's like the moment of conflict in my life. I
Okay.
wonder if that's why, like maybe if, you know, the next year someone did kick my ass, I would not be thinking about this threat,
Nostalgically about that
about
experience.
the threat, right?
Yeah.
Because I would have, it would have been something else that would have
Oh,
replaced
yeah.
that
Yeah.
system, that meaning system
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I think that makes sense to me because if I think of the types of situations or experiences that I think most nostalgically about, they oftentimes have to do more, well, maybe not more, but they certainly are comprised of situations that are more social. So me being with other groups of people, it could be my my family when I was a kid, so my parents and my sister. It could be my extended family, so on both sides of my family, my parent or my mom's side and my dad's side, very close growing up with aunts and uncles and cousins there. Um, so I tend to remember those types of situations. I have these flashbulb memories of me playing with my cousins in my grandma's backyard, or me and my one cousin thinking we're cool because there were cigarette butts that my uncles would throw off the deck, and then we would pretend to smoke cigarettes when we were like 8 years old. We call each other like Dave and I don't know some other generic white name, and we just called each other that for like a
Dave,
year. We played that game.
Dave and Chad. Wait,
Uh,
you go down and grab the cigarette butts and would
yep.
just and be
And
like,
I don't I
What's
don't
up, Dave?"
remember exactly what happened, but all I remember is thinking, all right, well, they're cigarette butts. I know we shouldn't be doing this, so we have to hide. But we would just like call each other different names and pretend we're smoking, like cigarette
Yeah.
butts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that is a memory that sticks with me. I have no other recollection around it, but that is something I look back on fondly. And for me, it's oftentimes again the connection. And so I looked into this because I wondered, well, is that idiosyncratic to me?
Uh-huh.
Or is there some sort of research that would back this up? And I would say research might be a strong word for what I'm going to share with you, but there is some connection by some research that would suggest, based on your personality, there can be a connection between certain characteristics and what people are nostalgic for. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
It does make sense.
So,
Yes.
for example, I am a fairly extroverted person. Having the supportive people around me has always been important. Now, when I was a kid, I don't know that I was all that extroverted, but having that support was important to me because, I was a shy, as I shared last time, a shy, husky guy. And so I didn't have a huge friend circle, but instead I had a huge family circle. And so that was really important to me. And so I think those types of memories serve a purpose to me and is part of the reason why I still strive to maintain really strong connection with my extended family, including my cousins now, I think. But some research would indicate that people who are more extroverted tend to remember more fondly social situations. People who are more just agreeable and really want to just be around other people and not make too many waves, they're going to remember um, situations in which people were like that with them. So they were more supportive and thoughtful. So they
Right.
have more of that desire. They have more of those memories. And then people that are neurotic tend to be a bit more nostalgic for times when they felt more comfortable or safe.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think it makes sense, but it's different than how I had originally thought about it until you read the definition. So the definition says It's moments that you essentially assign meaning. You're making meaning from whatever the experience is.
Right,
So
a
you
sentimental longing for one's past that you associate with some sort of meaning. Yep.
so when you're smoking cigarettes, it probably stands out, or cigarette butts, it stands out to you, I would imagine, because the meaning there was people like me and care about me,
Yeah.
or I'm part of something bigger, or
Mhm.
whatever. There's a meaning that addresses a need that you have.
Yep.
And, when I'm talking about conflict or talking about working hard, I'm assigning like, I'd like to be this way. I would like to have and I think this is true, by the way. I have had a very, like pretty charmed life, like not a lot of bad things,
Right.
but like when there's things that I had to overcome, I'm like, oh, look, I did have to overcome something, and will lean towards that because I want to act that way or be
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
And
you want to focus on the things that you did have to
yes,
overcome
yes.
in order just to prove to yourself that and to others that you did have to do
Yeah,
that.
I'm resilient too, right? You know what I mean? I think there's a piece of it that's that way.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and so when you look at like, as you're talking about personality traits, it totally makes sense. If you're someone who needs security, well, then you're gonna be you're gonna be drawn to remember
Mhm.
moments when you had security,
Mhm.
because you've assigned like, "Oh, yeah, there is security in the world,"
Yep.
to those events.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. People who study this will also describe a couple different types of nostalgia. So one is like what we're talking about would be called personal nostalgia, which is memories tied to one's own life experiences.
Mhm.
Then there's collective nostalgia. So it's more like a back in my day type of thing. Back in the 60s, this thing happened. Like my dad, even when I was a kid, would talk about, oh, your music sucks. But back in the 60s and 70s, that was real music.
Mhm. I feel the same way today. I do, that's
and,
scary. Yeah.
and yeah, but I mean, I feel I'm turning into the old man. My kids are listening to. Have your kids gotten into the demon K-pop demon hunter thing?
I don't know what that is, but I'm not interested. What
It's
is
a
that?
Netflix cartoon movie. It's about K-pop bands, one of which are demons and one of which battles and kills demons. But they're all K-pop bands.
Is it it's,
Animated.
I think they're watching it right now.
Yeah.
They're watching some awful show that looks like anime right now, and I don't know what it is, but
If there's lots of singing, it's probably that.
I don't think they're singing though.
Oh, no, this is like it's there are tons of songs. I just was listening to something. It's like the top soundtrack
Oh,
on the charts like right now.
oh, no, this is not a
Okay.
no, this is something else inappropriate that they found on Netflix. They're
But anyway, so there's a bit more of that, like that collective nostalgia for a previous time, and it usually has to do with thinking back about a generation or a time in a community or a country that was better.
Mhm, mhm.
The third type is historical nostalgia. So people who say things like life was just simpler back then, even though like they'll say, oh, life in the Victorian era seems just so easy and simple. I've
Yeah,
never experienced it,
yeah,
but it seems so simple. I yearn for that. So I'm nostalgic for something I've actually never experienced. I just feel like I know about.
yeah.
Which one of those types of nostalgia would you feel or do you think are most powerful
Oh,
and why?
will you say them again? Give 'em to me again. I
So
heard historical.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's personal. So I've experienced it. Collective, like, all right, I'm gonna think about back a generation, but I've been there. And then historical, which is I've never experienced
I would have thought personal, but the fact that you're asking the question makes me think it's actually historical, which is the one that would be the most unlikely in my mind.
it. So I think you're right, but for different reasons. I think for the person, right, the personal nostalgia drums up a
Mhm,
lot of emotion, usually in a positive way. And so
mhm,
it's most powerful for the person.
mhm,
And when I was thinking about this and I was looking at those three, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one that resonates most with me.
mhm.
But I guess it really depends on how you look at it. Because I mentioned, earlier, "Make America Great Again." If you think about that, that is a type of that is collective nostalgia.
Mhm.
Maybe. I guess you could say it's historical depending upon where you want to look at it. But in other words, it's looking in the past and saying, all right, America was great.
Yes.
We're not now. Let's go back to that.
Mhm.
And what people who research this will say is that can be really powerful because it can start to generate movements of people
Yeah,
like it has now.
it was great for all of us or whatever. Well, I wonder, is it related, like, do when people, um, think about when they're nostalgic, like, something like that slogan, "Make America Great Again," um, does the collective hear that and go, all of these moments, the Hot Pockets, the Saved by the Bell, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the hot girl in high school, do we just go, "Oh, well, that's all how it was?" You know what I mean? Like, are we combining all of our personal positive memories or nostalgic memories and sort of conflating that with the historical truths of that time?
Well, I think that's
That makes
part of
sense,
why
me
it's
saying that
power.
right?
I think I get what you're saying. And I think that's why it's powerful is because then you can fill in the blanks with what that means.
Yeah.
So it's something that almost anyone can latch onto if you were to take the politics out of that statement.
Yes.
If you just think about, oh, things were great. Like I could come up with a variety of things that I think were much better in 1995.
Mhm. Right, right.
You
Right.
could too. In our list, well, maybe our list would be a bit more overlapping given what we just talked about, but the list of, 100 people are not going to be the same. But the emotions that it
Mhm,
would trigger would
mhm, mhm.
potentially be the same.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why it can be powerful in part because it's so vague.
If you're I'm just trying to think of, like, the timing here, but let's just call it, if we were at an election in the '80s
Mhm.
and civil rights movement was '64, right? So let's
Yeah,
say you're
60s, yeah.
'60s, you say you're a person of color in the '80s, and a politician is saying, "Make America Great Again," and now we're talking about making America great before the civil rights movement. Like, I think you could objectively look at it and go like, "Hey, wasn't better for this population
Right.
this time," right? Which is still the argument today, by the way. But I'm making like a more stark comparison back in the from the '80s to the '50s, very different experience. But is it still playing on the things in their childhood, that population's childhood that they are nostalgic about? Like, does it still work even though objectively the reality, am I saying this right?
It
When we
it
say
works
make
more
America
like go ahead.
when we say make America great again, the assumption is it was great before.
Right.
But I am not aware of a time that I've lived in where people were high-fiving in the streets being like, "Now's the best time." They're never. They're always
Right.
like, "It was better before."
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I think that's part of it is, I think if the term "Make America Great Again," if you were to continue on with it, would say for who
Mhm,
and for whom was it great and for whom wasn't. So I think
mhm,
that's more of the left leaning critique of that statement is, well, who was it? Great again. Well, us moving the past. Well, who was it better for then,
mhm,
and who
mhm,
is it better for now,
mhm,
objectively?
mhm.
And so, I think people who talk about this would say, well, it was much better. Yeah, if you were being more US centric, it was much better for white people than it was for non-white people.
Right,
It was
right.
probably easier for men than it was for women, whatever easier
Mhm,
means. It was easier if you're straight than if you were not.
mhm, mhm.
And so I think that's the critique of it. However, I think depending up maybe not that statement again, it's so charged politically, but it doesn't mean that regardless of your identity that this doesn't work. I think that
Yeah,
it does work.
it
It
still
just
works.
depends upon how you're framing it.
Yeah, yes. Because I may not be thinking about whatever, how I'm treated politically. I might be thinking about my memories that were
Right.
positive of that time.
Right.
Yeah,
Hanging out with my
yeah.
family or my friends, watching whatever it was that I was watching. And that can cause that positive nostalgic feeling.
So, okay, so, let me I'm thinking about the nostalgia thing, and I said in the beginning, I go, "Oh, maybe it's that, I'm nostalgic about things that were 'cause you said, "What are you nostalgic about?" And I think like Hot Pockets and Saved by the Bell. And then I go to conflict and
Uh-huh.
having to work as a kid. And I look at that and I go, "Oh, well, maybe it's just because I'm happy I overcame something because I lived a charmed life." But then I was thinking about, like, I have had things that are not good, like, my dad got paralyzed, my parents were divorced. There are things that I look at, I had to travel between houses as a kid. I hated that. I'm not nostalgic about.
Right.
It's funny, so those things I didn't even clock those as I was saying, "What am I nostalgic about?" And I and so I guess I'm thinking, I think when I look back at those memories, I don't, maybe if I don't feel like I've evolved through it or benefited from it, then it doesn't land as nostalgic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Because like my dad passing away or my dad getting injured, there's no nostalgia. I'm not like, "Ooh, look what I overcame."
Yearning for that.
I'm
Yeah.
not right. I don't feel good about it, I mean, I survived it. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out what triggers the nostalgia, even when the event is bad.
Right. So maybe another way to phrase that question, and that's something I was thinking about too in preparation for our conversation today, which is what's the role of nostalgia? Why do we get nostalgic?
Uh huh.
And I think we've talked about some of these things already. One is just to make meaning of something that happened to us and
Hmm.
make it feel more important. One is what you talked about is it boosts resilience during stress. So you may think, when you're doing some other physical activity, well, I mean, I got through this thing when I was 12 years old, knocking down trees in California, I can do this too.
Hmm. Hmm.
One of it can boost, one other reason for it is it boosts connection because like what you and I did at the beginning, talking about the stuff in the 90s,
Hmm.
that makes us have common experiences, even though you and I did not know each other then.
Yeah.
We
Right.
have a sense of common experience.
Hmm.
And so it can boost just kind of pro-social feelings
That's
between
interesting.
people or within groups. I mean, and I think another way to think about this is I have friends that I still see that I have known since I was 15 or 16 years old. Now I'm 40 years old. So these are, 25-year-old friendships.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's funny sometimes when their significant others or spouses will come to parties or get-togethers that we have. And then there's this group of us that will talk about things that happened 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the spouses or significant others are like, "Oh, they're going down, they're doing this thing
Oh,
again."
here we go. Yeah.
Right. Do you
Uh,
remember this time in high school where, we broke into this park and, hung out over the pavilion or whatever it is? And it's like, yeah, we
mhm,
remember that because we
mhm,
talked about it
mhm.
15 times before and we don't care to hear it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that memory of it and just reliving those types of experiences
Mhm,
can, I think, help us stay connected because we don't see each other nearly as frequently as we used to.
mhm. Yeah.
So I think those are some of the reasons why it happens. And
Yeah.
so does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm thinking that it doesn't, um I mean, I guess what you're saying is it serves a purpose in that it serves a purpose for your, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to think about is there's 2 different things. One is the feeling of nostalgia
Yep.
versus the things that you remember. And the things that I mentioned that I didn't like, dad getting hurt or passing away or divorce or whatever, those aren't things that I still have to deal with those things. Like
Right.
I've not made meaning from those things versus that
Okay.
one
Yeah.
time that somebody almost beat
Mhm.
me up and look how, David's been through something. I can make meaning, you know what I mean? I can make meaning from it. So maybe then it serves the purpose of like helping you remember the meaning that you made.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so like that, yeah, I think that that makes sense. Is that you talked last time about the when those kids made that cartoon about you.
Yep.
Are you nostalgic about, what's your
Fuck
emotion
no.
tied to that?
My emotion is it's a strong emotion because I remember it. Well,
Yeah.
I guess what's interesting is I think I do, but that's one of the one of the interesting things about being nostalgic or just having an emotional memory.
Uh-huh.
I don't. honestly, I remember these bits and pieces, like these frames in a movie
Yeah.
about that experience, but what I remember most is how I felt about it.
Yeah.
So it's an emotional memory for me. I am
Yes.
not nostalgic because I'm taking no meaning out of that other than these were, kids that were, you know,
Mhm.
being dicks at my expense.
Yeah.
But
So
there's
you remember
nothing
it, but
I've
yeah.
learned.
Yeah, you're not better you
Or
don't feel like you're better for having done that.
no, I mean, I guess if I really wanted to make myself feel better, I'd say, well, again, I think I joked last time. Well, it made me sarcastic as a defense mechanism, and I can appreciate that about myself now. And it was a resilience building experience, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but that's not usually how I categorize that
Yeah, but
particular
you are
experience.
nostalgic about I mean, I think just from talking to you, you are nostalgic about things that others may, not be nostalgic about. Like, so for example, memorizing every single best picture for the Oscars. Or are you nostalgic about being runner up in the geography bee?
Well, nostalgic might be a strong word. I think I'm pissed that I was runner up at the geography bee.
Like, we keep talking about it, I was like, "Oh, well, you've made meaning from it now, and it's a funny story," and you're like, "No, no, I'm still
No,
upset
no,
about."
I'm still upset that I lost to a question that no one should ever be asked in geography because no one knows, of course, the
You
terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railroad.
you know,
I
you
still remember
you
that.
and you know you're wrong, by the way.
What?
You keep on saying it, and you're gonna tell me it's Vladivostok.
Yes.
That is not the correct answer.
Well, then what's the correct answer?
I Googled it
No,
one
is
time.
this whole thing prepared so that you could correct me live? What is the terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railroad?
Okay, I'm gonna Google it right now. Terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. It is. Oh, it is. Oh, the eastern
You
terminus is Vladivostok. All right, Moscow is the western. Okay.
you stupid shit.
Well, this moment must be good for this is a we
It's
just
now this will be a nostalgic memory for me where you were
I
so
was
close and
I
sure of
was
yourself to
oh, I
prove
was
me
so
wrong.
I Rob, I've been sitting on that for a long time, waiting for it
There
to come up.
have you seen the movie Inside Out?
Yes.
You know how there are these there are some memories that this little girl has and they're like little spheres, and then some become core memories where they like go up this chute and they never leave.
Yes.
I think you've just made a core memory for me.
Good. You'll be nostalgic about this moment.
I will be nostalgic about this for decades to come.
I bet you we will be nostalgic about doing this podcast.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Starting it and, in 10 years or 20 years, you look back, you'll be like, "That was a fun time," you know?
Right. Like we're almost a year in. We'll have to commemorate that at some point, but we're almost a year into this, and yeah, it's already a positive
Yeah.
experience um, that I'll enjoy. Yeah. I don't remember what we were talking about before you tried
I
to
derailed, but God,
correct me.
I was feeling I can't if you could have measured my heart rate. I I really looked it up and it said it was Moscow, and I was like, "Oh, got him." But
Uh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's dive a bit more into the political component. We started mentioning,
Yep.
"Make America Great Again," but I think that's something at least I'd like to talk
Yeah.
more about. Is
Yeah, you're
you know,
wanting to get yourself canceled. Go ahead.
well, no, just why does it exist? Like, how does that work? I think we've talked about it a little bit, right? It's a
Mhm.
historical just throwback to things were better.
Mhm.
But of course, because it's so broad,
Mhm.
you don't think about all of those things that maybe weren't better, certainly for you, and even more so maybe for other types of people.
Alright, I mean, I have a theory for why the messaging works. I don't know how it fits with nostalgia,
Okay.
but is it like we have a when somebody says "Make America Great Again," the messaging is that America used to be better and now it's a problem. And
Hmm.
does that from a psychological standpoint help Trump to create a unified villain, which is the current political system? He's sort of saying we have a problem in all of the things that you're dealing with right now that you're not anything in your life that you're not happy with. It used to be better. And so the current existence is a problem. And that's like a very cohesive
Yep.
It's mentally easy thing to do.
Yep.
This everything is a problem, you
I think
know?
it makes a ton of sense.
Compare that to what was Harris's slogan? It was like, "Believe in me," or something, or "There's opportunity."
I don't remember, but yeah, it was something a bit more positive and pro-social.
Yeah, and we can't remember it, right? That tells you
Correct.
something.
Well, part of the reason I can't remember it is because it lasted for what, 3 months, and "Make America Great Again" has been around for a decade.
Yeah,
So,
she was light on, it was Build Back Better and,
well, that was a
For the
bill.
People,
For the people may make more sense.
for the people.
Um,
Uh, I heard, and I'm derailing this, not well, I wanna talk about what you're saying, but it just made me think. The book, Five Dysfunctions of a Team?
yep.
In my opinion, maybe one of the best leadership books. It's well written, and the messaging is, I think, really valuable. But that was not what the original title was supposed to be. The original title was something like Five Things You Need on a High Functioning Team. And when they took it in to get it published, the publisher goes, way too positive. Nobody is interested in positivity or
Mhm.
good vibes. They want to know that there's a disaster afoot.
Yep.
And so we're going to name it Five Dysfunctions because the anxiety
Spurs you to action.
makes you act on it. And I wonder if Make America Great Again sort of implies we got a problem right now that we got to solve.
I think it certainly does more than whatever you just said. It was the Harris campaign's slogan,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is more that, we're all in this together type thing.
Yeah.
So I think it does, and I think you're right. I think it works because it creates a common enemy, but it's not any one person.
Hmm.
It's a political system
Hmm.
that's the enemy.
Yes.
And again, you can think back and say, especially if you look at, the people who, you know, at least a really core component of those who voted for Trump, they are thinking, well, before, you know, middle class people made more money. Before, things were more connected. Before, we didn't feel so separated, either because you know, of the internet. I know there's less just social types of interactions happening in general. There was a lot of commentary around just identity politics and how this helped Trump, and now we feel disconnected, and so he's saying let's make America great again by not focusing as much on that. I think he was just there was just a story that I was listening to yesterday or today, and him critiquing the Smithsonian, particularly the Museum of African American History, because he was saying it's too negative. It doesn't talk about anything that's positive. And so I think that is a reason why this resonates for him, and maybe as a result why it resonates for others is let's go back to a simpler time when things just felt more cohesive and connected.
Yeah.
And that's nostalgic for some
Yes.
people.
It's nostalgic. Um, yeah, and it may not. Yeah, and I guess the question is it was it really better? And I bet for a lot of people, I mean, because of the nostalgia, like if I think about my your what you remember is really sort of just the high points. So
Yeah.
you're nostalgic about it, but it's not necessarily that you were so happy 20 years ago,
No.
you know?
No, not at all. So I think that's why it works. And at least for people that I know who are strong supporters of him, that's part of the reason it works.
Yeah. I don't know how politically we want to get, but I do think there's other things that make the slogan work well. It's sort of not related to nostalgia, but I think it spoke, I think, directly to a population that just had not been spoken directly to. Doesn't mean that the
Sure.
system didn't serve them, but like strategically, I felt like it speaks to a certain population that has felt like they weren't getting their voices heard before.
What population is that?
I think disenfranchised white people.
Yeah.
I think that population felt like there's less. You know what I mean? I think that's probably,
Yeah.
and business leaders. I think
I would disagree with that second one more than the first one.
business leaders.
Yeah, I think that I don't know that they felt disenfranchised.
No, no, I think it's 2 separate things, but he sort of I felt like if I, like, try and audit Trump's, like, campaign strategy, I think he's kinda saying, "I'm gonna bring underserved population, disenfranchised population, I'm bringing jobs back because you need jobs."
Correct.
And business leaders, he's saying, I'm gonna reduce taxes on your business so that you wanna work in the United States." And that, like, I think those 2 financial, right, it's a
Mm,
different message to both, but both sort of I think felt seen, whereas I think just they may have, I'm not saying this right or wrong, but they may have felt less focused on before.
yeah, again, I disagree with the second group, the business leader part of it, because I think in general, people who are going to vote primarily for their business needs, we're always going to vote more Republican in the United States. But the
Okay.
first grouping I agree with, and I don't
I
have a
think it's
map up
su
in front of me, but I think the best example is the state of West Virginia. If you look at the 90s, West Virginia
Mhm,
voted for Clinton, I think both times.
mhm.
And now West Virginia is the first or second reddest state in the country. And in part, it's because of what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think to go full circle relates back to nostalgia, though, because being nostalgic for a time when coal mining, which is a big
Right.
thing, a big industry in West Virginia, is a more pronounced way to make a living. And you can make the argument that, as I would, that I understand that. And it's like other things that I don't know that it's ever going to be what it was. I live in St. Louis in Missouri, and we're like a top 5 state for getting coal
Mhm.
um, to use for power. In fact, we had a number of coal companies that were headquartered here for a long time. I don't think that we're ever going to have a heyday of coal again, but I don't necessarily think that's because of specifically anyone's politics. But it does feel
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
losing something, and it
Yeah.
feels better when you think about what it was like in the 80s when coal was a bigger deal.
So, like, that's maybe a good way to sort of, like, close this is it's when you talk about St. Louis and what the economy might look like or what it was, right? What really matters to voters is what they're feeling.
Yep.
Is it gonna go up or down? The emotion tied to it is, I mean, we can get into the weeds on, like, what are the facts and what is the economy and what is this get whatever, but if people feel a certain way, then they're gonna vote on it, right? And it's the same thing, that's the same thing with the nostalgia. It's about what you're feeling about your younger years or the
Yep.
past, not necessarily what actually happened.
Yes, I think that's it, and I would argue, just to close the books on voting, voting is one of the most emotional things that we do. It
Yeah,
seems like it should be the more one of the more rational things that we do, but it's one of the more emotional things that we do. So
that's
I think what you're saying makes sense. The last thing I'll say is, and this is I was thinking through this is, well, what do you do with some of these nostalgic feelings that you have? Some of them it's just nice to rehash, and then you move on. But with something, and I noticed this particularly for myself during COVID, when as a very social person, I had many fewer opportunities to be social. So I was more nostalgic for the opportunities I had in 2019 and before to be more social. I think over time, what that experience caused me to do is to be more proactive
mhm,
in building connection and opportunities for me to do things with people that I enjoy. It spurred me to some sort of action. That experience was not great for me, not great for a lot of people in a variety of ways, but for me, it wasn't great because of that social isolation. And it then caused me to be a bit more outgoing in building those connections than maybe I even was before, especially as a parent,
mhm.
being a bit older.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it totally makes sense, and I'm trying to think about, like, how do I act on nostalgia?
That's what I was going to ask you. So, what would be an
Yeah.
example for you, if anything comes to mind?
Well, I don't know that I act on I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, like I think that I have a person that I would like to be. And I think I am pretty deliberate about doing things that make me the
Mhm.
person that I want to be. And I guess I would argue that the nostalgia helps me frame who that
Yeah.
person is.
Yep.
And so in that way, I do it. Like I want to be a hardworking person, or I'd like to be. I like the idea of being an innovative thinker.
Yep.
And so like I think I act as though I'm innovative when maybe I'm not, but I would like to be that way.
Sure.
And I've learned from I've like learned the things like I think about who I want to be based on my past experiences, then I act that way now.
Right, and that shapes what you do in the future.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I think that is an answer to the question.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I have for you.
Okay. In a future episode, let's talk more about. I'm interested. You said that voting is one of the most emotional things that we do.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. We should talk about why that is. Like
Yeah.
compared to just talking about politics or compared to our political views, actually voting is an emotional experience.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. We should talk more about that.
And I think it's emotional for all those reasons that you just mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well done, Rob. If you've got, let us know if first of all, if anybody used to eat Hot Pockets and suck out the middle, I'd like to hear in the comments.
What I used to do, it may be similar and probably more common, is with gushers. I would I would chew a gut or bite a gusher in half, chew it, and then lick out the gooiness in the
Oh,
middle.
gross. No, that's disgusting.
No,
That,
oh, I'm sorry. That's where you draw the line.
that's, yeah.
You will tongue a pot pocket, but no,
I was,
chewing a gusher, no, that's gross.
all right. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And you can always email us at shrinkspaceshow at gmail.com.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.